and welcome back to Living Life Simply. My name is Raheli if you're new here, and for today's video I wanted to share with you a veganized version of a traditional matzo ball soup recipe as Passover is fastly approaching, and I thought this would be fun. Whether you celebrate Passover or not, this is a great recipe. And actually next weekend I will be uploading another Passover recipe. I will be making gefilte fish, but of course vegan, with my mom. And you should consider subscribing below if you haven't already, so that you don't miss that recipe or any other recipe coming in the future. And now, without further ado, let's begin. In front of me, I have all the ingredients I will be needing for the matzo balls. So of course, the main ingredient is matzo meal, and I have 1.5 cups of matzo meal. Then I also add 2 tablespoons of potato starch. You can also choose to use tapioca flour. And the reason for this, it is what allows it to be fluffy and delicious. So this is optional, but highly recommended. I also have 2 flax eggs. And to prepare 1 flax egg, you will need 1 tablespoon of ground flax seeds with 3 tablespoons of water. So you will need 2 tablespoons of ground flax seeds along with 6 tablespoons of water. And you just want to mix them together and let them sit for 5 to 10 minutes until they become gelatinous. I also have 2 tablespoons of avocado oil. You can use any oil of your choice, or you can decide to leave the oil out altogether. If you do that, I might recommend adding another flax egg, and I personally have not tried it without oil, so I cannot guarantee it will turn out well. And next, you will need 3/4 to 1 cup of water. We'll add it gradually to see how much exactly we'll need. And I also have salt and pepper to taste. I put 1/2 teaspoon of salt and 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, but again, you can change it to your own personal taste. So I'm first adding in the matzo meal. Next, I will add in the tapioca starch and also the seasoning, okay? So once I added all of these, I'm gonna go ahead and give them a quick mix to make sure that they are well combined. And then I'm going to add my flax egg in. Okay, and as you can see, it went pretty gelatinous. You want to try now to break it up a little bit to make sure everything is well mixed with the flax egg. And at this point, you might want to start using a little bit your hands to make sure that, as I said, everything is getting the flax egg, and you're able to combine it a little better than with a whisk. And I can see that some of it is already starting to form into a dough, but it's still missing some liquid. So this is when I'm going to start gradually adding in the water. I'm going to add about 1/4 cup of water each time till I get the consistency I desire. Okay, so at this point, almost all of the matzo meal has become part of the dough. As I was saying earlier, we could see that some of it was not, but it's still missing a tiny little bit. So I'm gonna add the rest, which is about 1 tablespoon, I think, of water, making it the total 3/4 cups of water that I prepared for myself. You will know that it is good when you're able to form a big bowl from it in between your hands and nothing is sticking. Everything looks nice. Okay? So now that the dough is ready, I'm going to put some water on my hands so that it doesn't stick to my hands while I prepare the balls. And you can use a measuring spoon in order to make approximately even balls. I would recommend doing about 2 tablespoons per ball. You can either just eyeball it or actually use a measuring spoon. So I think I'm going to try and eyeball it, but I will help myself with a measuring spoon. And then once you have your ball ready as you like it, go ahead and place it on a plate. And since these don't have eggs and they're easier to break apart because of that, even with the flaxseed, what I want to make sure is to first like really combine the dough for each ball in my hand before forming it. That will help it to actually stick together when we cook them. Okay, so now I'm making my last matzo ball, and this will be number 16. Mine are medium size, so I'm probably going to serve about 3 to 4, so I can serve anywhere between 4 people to maybe 5 or even 6 if I wanted to stretch it. And depending on how many people you're having over for Passover or how many people you want to enjoy this, you can of course make half the amount, or you can double the recipe in order for you to get the amount of matzo balls that you would like. Once you have your matzo balls, we're gonna place them in the fridge for half an hour to chill, and then we're gonna cook them. Now that our matzo balls are chilling in the fridge, it is time to prepare the soup. And for the soup, you will need 1 large onion or 2 medium onions diced pretty finely. You will also need between 3 to 4 carrots depending on the size that you slice into coins, or you can do half coins, it's up to you. And also like 3 to 4 celery sticks that you slice. And finally, you will need the liquid. You will need between 8 to 10 cups of water or vegetable broth. As you can see, I'm using vegetable broth, and I make my own vegetable broth from vegetable scraps, and I actually have a video on how I do that I will leave up in the cards as well as in the description below if you're interested in making your own. It's so simple and so much cheaper. If you don't have vegetable broth or don't make your own and choose to use water, you will need some condiments, so maybe some turmeric, cumin, salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, whatever you choose to add to it. And you will also be able to add other vegetables to it if you want to make it richer. I'm just going with the more traditional route, but you can also choose to add maybe zucchini or leafy greens and some dill. So it is up to you how you make the soup. So I have my pot here, and now let's begin cooking. So the first thing I do is I heat up my pot and add a splash of water or vegetable broth. I'm just going to add a splash of my vegetable broth. So once the pot is hot and the vegetable broth is bubbling, it is time to add in your onions. Go ahead and add that in. And give it a quick mix. And then I'm going to cover it and let it cook for about 3 to 5 minutes on medium-low heat, and come back to it then. While I cook the soup, I also filled up a pot with water, and I'm going to bring this to a boil in order for me to cook the matzo balls when they come out of the fridge, so that it is already boiling and ready to go. The onions are looking really good right now, so I think it is time to add in the carrots and the celery. I'm going to give them a quick mix through with the onion. I'm going to close the lid back up and let this cook for another 5 to 7 minutes. So after the 5 to 7 minutes, once the vegetables are nice and softened, it is time to add in the vegetable broth and bring it up to a boil. So my broth seems really dark, so I decided that I'm going to add about 3 or 4 more cups of water just to dilute it a little bit so it's not too strong or too dark. You can of course do the same, or if you're just doing a bigger amount of soup, add more water. I think the water in the back has boiled, so I'm just going to go ahead and turn off the heat and wait for the bubbles to go away, and then it will be time for me to cook the matzo balls in there. So I'm actually just going to switch the spots between the two pots so that you guys are able to see better what I'm doing. So I got the matzo balls out of the fridge and now I'm going to drop them gently into the water. And you want to create one layer of balls, so you don't want them to be one on top of the other. And once you have all your matzo balls in, you want to let them cook for 10 minutes. So I'm just going to go ahead and set a timer for 10 minutes and start it. So in 15 seconds or so, the matzo balls will be ready, and here it's ready. So I'm just going to turn off the heat. So now that I turned off the heat, I'm going to use a spoon that has holes, and you can do lines, whatever it has, to remove the matzo balls onto the plate. And as you might notice, due to the liquid, they have inflated a little bit. So when you create the balls, think of that as well. Okay, so by this point, the soup is also boiling, so I'm just going to turn off the heat. And now there are a few options of what you can do. So if you're serving it immediately, then go ahead and add in all of the balls into the soup. But if you're making them ahead of time, you are able to store the soup separately from the bowls, either in the fridge or freezer, depending how long you want it to last. In the fridge, it might last 2-3 days. In the freezer, it can last much longer. And as I mentioned earlier, I normally serve between 3 to 4 matzo balls per serving. So I'm going to add in 6 matzo balls right now because I'm serving for 2. And the rest of the matzo balls and the leftover matzo ball soup, I will be actually storing in the freezer separately. And the reason you don't want to store them together is, as I was saying, the matzo balls take up the liquid, and also that slowly breaks them down. So if they're going to be in liquid for a long time, they will end up just being crumbs rather than matzo balls. So that's why it's important to store them separately. So let me go ahead and add in 6 matzo balls. And now let's go ahead and serve this up. So here we have our bowl of delicious matzo ball soup, and I can't wait to eat it, enjoy it, and also make it once again for Passover. I hope that you guys will also give it a try, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it. It makes my day and really helps me out with the algorithm. Also, if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe down below to join the Living Life Simply community and never miss another video. Share it with whoever you think might enjoy it. So that is it, and I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye!